Prime Minister, welcome. How was your afternoon? Anything special happen?
Well, Okay, that's a very peculiar question. Normally, that's a normal question, but given the circumstances, it's peculiar, and I'm not going to comment on that. But I must say, it's the fifth time I speak here. I've never seen so much people in Belgium House. I've talked about maritime security. The room was half full. I talked about European affairs. It was 2/3. Now it's beer, and it's a full house. It tells you something about our people and what they really like and what their real interests are. I think we have to keep it short because I have the impression they didn't come to listen, but they came for the second part of the evening when we opened the tap.
I understand something happened with the preparation because this morning I gave you the questions for this fireside chat.
This is true.
2 problems. We don't have a fire. And the second problem is?
Well, he gave me the questions beforehand because he has zero trust in me that I can spontaneously answer any questions, that I have to study it beforehand. But I appreciate it, Lauren, as you are a good friend. You gave me the questions beforehand. What did I do? As any good politician, I gave them to a collaborator. Look at them so we can reflect on it, and then you can give me a bit of inspiration before the evening starts. My collaborator who's here, present here today, Ralph, where are you?
Here's here.
Show yourself, show yourself. Here he is. Stand up, stand up, stand up. What did this man do? He took the questions with him to the meeting with Donald J. Trump, and he left them in the meeting room with Trump. So the only one who knows the questions you're going to ask me is Donald Trump for the moment. So I imagine how the Americans back saying, the Belgians left a document, let's take it. And they're saying, it's about beer. Probably they think it's a secret code about Greenland and how do you like your beer. And so if we wake up tomorrow in jail in New York next to Maduro, he's the guy, he did it, he did it. So I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue what you're going to ask me, Laurie.
Well, that gives me a lot of latitude because
you can do whatever. Ask me whatever you want.
Okay. I think you can't say much about it, but I do have to ask the question: what happened in the Trump meeting? What can you tell us about it? What can you not tell us about it?
I can tell you nothing whatsoever because we agreed on not communicating on the meeting after the meeting. And if you want to be a loyal ally, then you have to keep your promise and actually not comment on it. And I told you this beforehand. Don't ask me about the meeting with Trump. And what does he do? How was it in the meeting with Trump? What can you say about it? Not one word. And I think I like a little joke, but this is serious. We live in a very crazy world. It gets crazier every day. You hear things that you thought you would never hear. Threatening the use of force between NATO members, that's really new. So if we could go back to less crazy from this point, it would be fine. And I think every word we add to what happens might prevent that from going back to the normal crazy, from the hyper crazy. So no answer for your question.
Okay, well, we'll leave it at that, and we'll go back to beer. And I first want to go, Mr. Prime Minister, to start local before we zoom out to the global story. And so, Sibel has referenced it in your bestseller, Het Verhaal of Antwerp, or the story of Antwerp.
22,000 copies sold, and it's still available. And there's a podcast, and if you listen to it, you want to buy the book.
Is that more or less than The Art of the Deal, or is that not comparable?
Stop asking questions about Trump. Stop it.
So, Bart, you discussed the role beer played in a time when drinking beer was safer than drinking water. You write about the political relevance of beer as social glue in forging an identity, but also in really shaping the urban economy of Antwerp. And I have a double question. Tell us something about the political relevance of beer.
In the 16th century? Or?
In the history of Antwerp. But then second, can you compare and contrast that with the role that beer plays today for a country like Belgium? Did some things change? Did some things remain the same? Like, how do you look at that?
That would have been useful to have read that question beforehand, so I could have reflected on it and given a brilliant answer? Because it's quite a complicated question. In the introduction, Sibel, you told about the 16th century, beer being very important. There's one little detail you forgot. For the treasury of the city, it was very important. 2/3 of the city revenue were taxes on beer. So if you like
going back to that level,
if you like history, you say it used to be better, but we could evolve back to that situation. But beer was of the essence, of course. The consumption of beer in the 16th century wasn't 400 liters per citizen per year, but it wasn't very far from it. So that's a huge amount, but beer it didn't have so much alcohol in it. It was what we call clan beer. In our language, we still say it is not clan beer. It is not a matter to be underestimated. That comes from the time that beer was actually healthy water. It was like healthy water. But it spread in 16th century society. It was of a pivotal importance. If you compare that to now, that would be quite hard, because now it is, of course, become a very international business. Our tradition of breweries, who goes back to the Middle Ages, has conquered the world. And maybe if there's one lesson that we could learn from the 16th century that we have, I will not say that we have forgotten it, but that we could cherish more, is the pride of the product, and to use it not simply as a product we can sell, but as an emblem of who we are and what we stand for. I think other countries are much better at that. The French with wine and cheese, the Italians with culinary products, and that we do it way too little. I'll tell you a little anecdote. I just told you, so you know what I'm going to say. I once, when I was mayor of Antwerp, that was a nice job, mayor of Antwerp. Why did I become prime minister? I was mayor of Antwerp, and I attended the World City Summit, and it was held at Suzhou in China. Does anybody in this audience know Suzhou? Ever heard of it? There are a few who heard it. Have you ever? You probably are from Suzhou, no? No, you are not. But from the neighborhood. Anybody who went to Suzhou? One. So it is not the most commonly visited place in the world. So you go to Shanghai or Beijing, and then you take the bus to Suzhou. And I got from the bus and I thought, now I'm really in the middle of China. Probably the first European they've ever seen here, and that's things you imagine. I got off the bus and I noticed it was parked before a Hougarde cafe. Can you imagine? Traveling for many, many hours, then in the bus through China, outside the city or in the countryside, it looks like you're really in China. And then there's a Hougarde cafe. That was an amazing experience, and you realize the beer got here before we did. And maybe we should take more advantage of that.
So my next question is, how do we do that? Because you referenced France, where wine is really part of the national story. Beer is that for Belgium, but we tend to be more understated about it.
Yeah.
Is that just who we are, or do we need to be more bold? And how
we need to be more bold.
We do that?
We do it with chocolate. Everybody associates Belgians with chocolate. Wherever you go in the world, oh, you're from Belgium. Did you bring chocolates? But beer, much less so. Maybe the fact that it is alcohol, and of course that there is a certain reservation about alcoholic drinks and alcohol abuse. But now that you also have this product, alcohol-free beer, I had to give up the drinking of alcohol in my life. When I was 40 years old, my doctor told me there is a certain quantity of alcohol you can drink in your life, and you already did it. So for the second half of your life, the quota is 0. And if you want to live the rest of your life, I would stick to that quota. So I did. But at that time, I'm talking about 2011, this product tasted like sweat, or a mixture of sweat and sewage water. And when I went to the reception of AB InBev for the anniversary of the stock exchange, they gave me a cold alcohol-free beer, and that was the first time since 2011 that I tasted beer. If this would have existed in 2011, what a life I would have had. It is, there's zero difference in taste. So this is for me the last reservation that falls on being much more assertive in using beer as a cultural ambassador of Belgium throughout the world. We really should do it. The French never bothered, wine also has alcohol, they never bothered about it, but we did, and that's a mistake.
Okay, very clear. I want to shift to the economy, Prime Minister. Belgian beer is culture, but of course also real economic weight. We have about 400 breweries, more than 300 brewing companies. We have 7,000 direct jobs, 50,000 indirect jobs, and about $250 million euros, I should say, invested in innovation each and every year.
Isn't that the answer to the question that you...
That was just the setup. That's the small intro. Yeah. But I was going to say Belgian beer is a big exporter, and Belgian companies, of course, are living in very uncertain times. And yesterday you said, there's decades where nothing happens, and there's weeks where decades happen. And I have the impression that we're living one of those weeks. I looked up the quote on ChatGPT. It's not from Lenin, but we'll talk about that later. But so the thing is...
What are you saying here? What are you implying? That I used a hallucination of artificial intelligence?
It's attributed to
it's attributed to...
Yeah.
Well.
But
they attribute many things, quotes to me that I never said either.
That's different. Okay, but the question, from your perspective, how can Belgian companies try to deal with that uncertainty? And is there a way that they can position themselves to profit from, the turbulence that we're living through? Because I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.
Well, I think we can. Davos is a very impressive experience. You listen to a great many people in a very short amount of time. But there are certain red lines that you can distill from every conversation you have. And one of the red lines that I take home with me is that all the turbulence is going to also cause a surge in a new form of multilateralism, because there are so many countries in the world who do not like imperialism, who still like rules-based world, rules-based trade, respectful leaders, accessible leaders that come to a beer night and you can talk to like a normal person, people like me, likable people. You see?
Thank you, Prime Minister.
It's still appreciated, that kind of... But don't underestimate, this is the large majority of the world. And a lot of countries say, well, if we have to diversify our value chains, let's finally stop talking about it, let's start doing it. And that means that we could get connected to new markets very easily. And I was happy to hear the analysis of Christine Lagarde about world trade. She said the surprise of 2025 is that trade in the world economy is quite resilient, has proven to be quite resilient. And as you should never waste a good crisis, she said, let's not waste good resilience. And she's right. I think in 2026, if we Europeans get our act together, that's a big if. If I look at the Mercosur story and the idea that the European Parliament is now trying again to postpone the application of Mercosur. So if we get our act together and we sit down with India, with the ASEAN countries, with the Central Asian countries, who all asked meetings for me and all said the same thing. We don't want to live under the boot of China. And others say we don't want to live under the boot of the United States. Maybe we should develop our friendship. Maybe we should get to know each other better. Maybe we should open our markets for each other. And if there's one product they all like, it's beer. Even more than chocolate.
Okay. Well, I think this audience is going to like that.
There were even leaders of countries where I said, isn't your religion prohibiting you to drink a beer? And they said, well... What? Oh.
Not in Davos, yeah.
Well, the way of the Lord is mysterious. There's a spirit in beer as well. Unholy spirit maybe, but a spirit nevertheless. You can get a medical prescription. Let's not go into this. What is your next question?
Is there something that the Belgian government can do that can actually help exporters such as the beer sector, but also other industries in Belgium? What's on your agenda to help the economy?
Well, Europe needs to do its homework, but we cannot hide behind Europe. You cannot say that Belgium is in great shape. If you look at our numbers, the debt we have, the tax pressure we have, the regulations and the way it's pushing down on enterprises, there's a lot to be done. I think it's yesterday that we had a conversation with the Singaporeese president. It wasn't a coincidence that we invited him. I was very honored that he came, because for me, Singapore, when I visited Singapore when I was still a happy mayor 12 years ago, I was so impressed by what happens there that I bought the Lee Kuan Yew biography at the airport. It's a brick of a book, but I read it from A to Z, and everything you need to know about how can you get from a third world, I'm not saying we're a third world country, but if they can get from a third world country to the best first world country of the world in one generation, we're still in better shape than that to get the job done. So what do we need to do? It's very simple. The 4 basic rules that I read in the book is keep your taxes low, balance your budget, keep your welfare fair, and invest in innovation. I think this should be the 4 top priorities of any government in Europe, every member state, and of the European Union. There's a lot of work to be done, but we've started the climb to the summit of the mountain. I think the Green Valley is behind the summit. It's maybe not yet in sight, but we're trying. We're lowering taxes, labor costs. We are also the labor costs and how is the term in English?
Unemployment? Benefits?
Yeah, unemployment. Of course, we try to make welfare fair. But also the fiscal reform. Sorry, I was looking for the word in English. Shifting the idea from rewarding people who are active instead of people who are passive, that is the way to go. And we made the first prudent steps. For Belgium, it's revolutionary, but I call these prudent steps to become a normal country. We do this 25 years too late, but we do it anyway. And from there, we need to gather new political courage to go to the next station and the next station until we're at the summit. And I believe people are wiser than you think, that they know we're in bad shape, that we know that they need to do efforts. But if they see that the column is moving from station to station and they get perspective on the Green Valley, they will follow us. And that you need to be courageous and to do what needs to be done.
Clear. Thank you.
It's not fiscal reform, but tax reform in English.
I think everybody understood.
Sorry.
Fine. And next to last topic that I just want to pivot to very briefly, but it's important when we talk about the beer sector, is the global health debate. There's one school that says every drop you touch is harmful, and therefore they advocate abstinence. The Belgian government agreement starts from a different starting point and says moderation is the key, and harmful use should be eliminated. Now, what do you think is a realistic policy stance that's also sustainable? Like, where do you stand in that debate?
This is a very delicate question. If I would have had that beforehand, I would have asked you to drop it, and you probably would have done so. But now I'm on the spot. It's a delicate question because, of course, we're still Belgium. That means we still have 5 parties in the coalition, and maybe we don't agree on anything. On everything, maybe not even on anything actually, but certainly not on everything. And this is a fierce debate because of yours. Of course, you have the fact that alcohol is harmful if you consume it for your health. That's a consideration. The responsible use of the product on the one hand, vis-a-vis the fact that it is the cradle. You are the cradle of the industry, and that of course. Promoting beer and everything we said until now, promoting it, taking it in as more of an emblem of what you stand for, the one and the other are not so easily reconciled. So we had a government agreement. I don't think that everything that we concluded was maybe the best text that we could write, but since then we've been we had a conversation with the sector, and I think we can navigate towards finding the equilibrium. I don't think everything that we agreed upon will be translated into action, or I'll put it differently, the things will translate into concrete measures will be the things that are acceptable for the industry.
Okay.
Through dialogue, we will find a way.
Okay, but that's good to hear and very reassuring. As a last topic, Prime Minister, I just wanted to say that there is a difference between how wine is treated by the European Union and how beer is treated by the European Union and regulated as such. And so I just want to throw up an idea that is maybe food for thought, because we think that beer has wrongfully been catalogued as not being an agricultural product, because basically it's water, natural ingredients, a lightly fermented low alcohol drink rooted in grain, water, and we say yeast and thyme. We're also locally sourced in Europe. 98% of all the beers brewed in Europe are using grains grown in Europe. And
again, is this a question, Lauren?
It's
or is it?
It's the leeway to
the question that's going to come.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And so basically, what a lot of people don't know is that in France there's more grain than vineyards, more grain being grown for beer than for vineyards. And so basically I want to come back to something that has historical roots, the barley belt, a European barley belt that used to exist. There we had the vodka belt and the barley belt and then the wine belt. But shouldn't we make a push with the 8 countries that could be part of such a barley belt, being the UK, Ireland, Belgium, the
UK
Netherlands?
doesn't help so much in the European Union anymore.
It
kind of missed what happens, Lauren.
Germany, Austria, the Czech Republic.
Those are the ones that count. Yeah.
To make a stance and to basically say, let beer be treated and regulated like the natural product that it is, instead of like the industrial product that is being regulated by the European Union today. Can the Belgian government play a role together with the different countries in such a discussion?
Yes.
Very good answer.
Yes. There's a very, very long question to get a very short answer. Yes, we should, and yes, we should be able to do so, and yes, we should do it. It has to do with what we already discussed. They managed, France and Italy, they managed much better than we do to make their products emblematic for what they stand for, which also has political weight. And of course, they are much better at lobbying at the European level than we have ever been, being a small country. So the approach you suggest is the intelligence approach. We cannot do it alone, but we could find an alliance of friends to get it done. And I think we should do it. We should stay in contact on this.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, for making the time.